You probably look at a title like I Am Jesus Christ and immediately assume it's a cheap satirical meme game designed for YouTube reaction faces. Honestly, I had this wishlisted for years expecting exactly that. But for 13 bucks, developer SimulaM actually built a completely unironic first-person historical simulation covering the gospel timeline from baptism to resurrection. You are not getting a wacky physics sandbox like People Playground where you torture NPCs. Instead, you get a surprisingly earnest, visually impressive recreation of the Holy Land. The developers treat the subject matter with absolute seriousness, delivering a narrative-heavy adventure that currently sits at around an 86% positive rating. It actively rejects the meme potential to instead function as a highly educative, 5-hour interactive fiction experience. The core gameplay loop is heavily restricted because you are strictly following the canon story of the Messiah. You walk from Galilee to Jerusalem, meeting specific biblical figures to trigger the next major narrative beat. Do not go in expecting deep RPG mechanics. You cannot unlock weapons, you cannot equip armor to boost your defense stats, and you certainly cannot level up a pickpocketing skill. Your unarmed combat is basically non-existent. You can literally only attack tables. There is also zero fall damage. Instead of traditional combat or parkour, your primary interaction with the world revolves around performing iconic miracles. When you reach a designated miracle spot, the game shifts away from exploration and locks you into these tiny, specific mini-games. You essentially play a small, gamified sequence to execute the miracle, and then you are right back to walking. Because the narrative is entirely on rails, you never actually make moral choices or steer the plot in a different direction. You just hit the required marker, complete the mini puzzle, and watch the next piece of the gospel play out. Real quick, most gaming channels pad their reviews to 20 minutes. I keep mine short and honest. If that's your thing, subscribe. Okay, back to it. Beyond just walking between story markers, the open world map hides a few secondary systems to pad out that 5-hour average playtime. You can wander the detailed streets of Jerusalem to track down hidden side objectives, which usually involve solving basic mini puzzles to progress. The environmental design is genuinely captivating, running incredibly well without the usual stuttering or jank that plagues low-budget indie simulators. To populate these streets, the game relies on an AI-powered dialogue system for interacting with NPCs. This system is completely hit or miss. Because you have absolutely no choice in your own dialogue options, you are forced to listen to whatever the AI generates for the supporting cast. Sometimes it successfully deepens the historical immersion, but other times it feels incredibly robotic. The whole economy of the game is just progression. There are no shops, no currency to manage, and no branching paths. You just explore the intricately modeled environments, listen to the AI dialogue, and walk to the next mandatory objective marker to trigger the next cutscene. Now, treating this strictly as a video game exposes some massive structural flaws. If you want actual challenges, complex puzzles, or projectile combat, you will be bored to tears in minutes. The miracle minigames are far too simplistic to hold your attention, leaving the bulk of the experience as a pure walking simulator. Furthermore, the dialogue additions frustrate players looking for a strictly authentic retelling. The developers added extra conversations and scattered religious ideas that stray from strict biblical accuracy, which feels jarring in a game trying so hard to be an educational tool. You are basically paying $13 to walk down a beautifully rendered hallway while occasionally completing a 2-minute puzzle. This is strictly for players who want a visually impressive, heavily guided tour of the New Testament. If you want to learn about the history and explore a highly detailed Jerusalem, the 5 hours of content justify the price tag. If you need player agency, deep combat systems, or literally any kind of mechanical challenge, skip this entirely. If this helped, drop a like and subscribe. See you in the next one.